All right, video number 2 on handgun safety and the different types of handguns. Again, all these weapons have been checked, double checked, and triple checked. They're all unloaded, but they're still loaded in my mind. All right, as far as I'm concerned, I handle every weapon as if it's loaded and deadly. So here we go. Identification of different types of semi-automatic. We talked about revolvers last time. These are semi-automatics. Is this a complete array of the kinds there are? No. There are. It's like cars. Just because you buy a Ford or a Chevy or a Mercedes, everything's going to be a little bit different in each manufacturer. So there are distinct differences. I'm going to teach you, I'm going to show you some basically different styles, but we're going to talk about safety and how to unload. These are much more difficult to unload than your basic revolver. So we're going to talk about single action 1911, double action, single and double action, and a different type of single and double action with a different kind of release for the magazine. Now, this weapon is a very powerful, compact weapon. It has a very strong spring in it. If you see one laying on the ground, first things first, drop the magazine if you have a need to. If it's just laying on the ground, call a cop. But if it has a magazine in it, the way to remove the magazine is to push this button right here. It's usually done with your thumb. The magazine just drops right out. Not a clip, it's a magazine. Clip is a different thing. Now, just because I dropped the magazine does not mean the ammo's not in the chamber. To check that, I need to take this weapon. I cannot put the safety on this particular type of gun because the hammer's not back. I'm not willing to pull the hammer back just to put the safety on because then I can't pull the slide back. Complicated, isn't it? So what we have to do to clear that chamber is to draw the slide to the rear. To do that, you see these slots right there cut into the steel? They're on both sides. They're designed for you to be able to grip. Now, you get a good solid grip on the handle of the gun. The grip of the gun. Good. Keep your finger above the trigger. Not in the trigger, but above the trigger. It never goes on the trigger until you're ready to pull the trigger to kill something or destroy something. Now, once I've got that good and solid, I'm pointing it at a safe direction. Down at the ground, at a tree, make sure there's whatever, safe direction. Then I'm going to make a double action of pulling back and pushing forward. And I'm going to check that chamber. Now, that got a very strong spring in it, so it makes it difficult to check. You can lock it to the rear here. You're going to push and pull, and you're going to push up right there. You saw how I did that with my thumb. And it will lock it to the rear. That way I can check the chamber that there's nothing in there. I can look all the way down, and if the light's good, you can see all the way down. I bet if I put this down there, you'll be able to see it. See that right there? You can see all the way through. So you know there's no magazine, there's no round, there's no nothing in there. Now that's on every semi-automatic. To release that, you simply push down, and it'll come back. That hammer will stay back, though, and that's part of the action of the weapon. Once you do that to chamber around, if there was a magazine there, that would have chambered around, and then you can pull the trigger. It's as simple as boom. At that point, this gun is going to explode, sending a bullet downrange, and this slide is going to come back and go forward, stripping another round off the magazine and putting it in the chamber. The hammer will be back and it'll be ready to fire in a millisecond. Just boom, it's done. This is the only way this one fires. Single action, just like on the revolver. These two are double action. Now, the difference is, this one has a release. Magazine is gone, right? But if I pull the trigger on this one, nothing happens. That hammer stays back. That hammer does not go anywhere. This particular weapon requires, excuse me while I adjust my camera. Oh, that's not working. Well, when you're working with antiques, me and the camera, that's what you get. All right, so the way to to drop or check this one is once you drop the magazine, push the button, drop the magazine, you simply grab it here and pull to the rear. This one is very light spring because it's a 9mm, it's a little round. You can lock it to the rear if you have really weak hands. You push it to the back and you push up on that lever. Similar to the 1911, right? Most weapons have that same basic setup to put it in safe. Once you've done that, you can check. There's nothing there. And if you look, you can see light. Well, you can see the light there. You can see right down to it. The camera is not giving you as good as look as you would with your naked eye. You can lock that back. I cannot fire that. I cannot drop that hammer without a magazine in it. So you make sure you have a empty magazine, put it in there. This one is a Walther. Different manufacturer, different type of release. There is no button. To drop the magazine on a Walther, you literally have to push down on a lever that is part of the trigger guard. Push down on that and your magazine comes out. The hammer is still here, but this gun is extremely easy to pull back because it's a very small round. There's no way to lock this gun to the rear. There's no way to lock this gun to the rear unless you have a magazine in it. The device that locks it open is down inside here. So once the magazine is in, you can lock it to the rear if the magazine is empty. So how do I get this, make sure that it's empty once I drop the magazine? Well, you take it and you do that. You cycle it 3 or 4 times and then you look and you make sure it's not a heavy spring in there. It won't hold your hands. It's not that difficult. It's got a safe and a fire. Make sure it's on safe. If you see the F for fire, that means it's dangerous. If you see the S, that is for safe. I can pull the trigger and that thing is not going to fire. That's a decocking lever at that point. So, I hope that gave you the basics. If you want to learn more, you're going to have to ask me specific questions, and I will give you specific answers in the comments. We did not go over striker-fired handguns. They look very similar to this. There's no hammer. There's just a spring and a firing pin, and there's no hammer to be moving around in there. They work almost identical. Hope you learned something. Again, if you have questions, ask me below, and we'll talk to you later.